This is your need to know. This is your need to know.
Ready to hop into the TARDIS with me? We're going on a deep dive, you guys, into the science of Doctor Who.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, so we're going to be cracking open the science of Doctor Who and unearthing all the crazy concepts behind time travel,
Okay.
alien encounters, all that good stuff that makes Doctor Who so captivating. We're going to be looking at excerpts about everything, from the TARDIS itself to the Daleks, even peeking into time travel paradoxes.
Oh, those are fun.
Right. So buckle up. This deep dive is going to be wild.
It's going to be a wild ride through space and time.
And reality itself.
Exactly. And what I find fascinating is how Doctor Who takes these complex scientific ideas
Yeah.
and turns them into stories that make you think.
Right. And they're fun to watch, too.
Of course. But it's not just about the science. It's about how it all connects to us.
Yeah, I was reading the source material, and one thing that really struck me was this idea that Doctor Who helps us make human what is alien.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's like it takes these huge cosmic concepts and makes them relatable.
Exactly. I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
The universe is massive.
Yeah.
Science gives us this cold, hard view of it all. But Doctor Who adds a human touch.
Right. It makes it emotional. Yeah.
It reminds us that even when we're faced with the unknown, we're still searching for connection.
For understanding.
Yeah. And in the end, for our own humanity.
It's like the universe is unbelievably huge, but we're still a part of it all.
And our perspective matters.
Exactly. Which brings us to space travel
Oh, yeah.
in the Whoniverse. And of course, we have to start with
The TARDIS,
the TARDIS.
that iconic blue box.
Bigger on the inside?
It plays with our understanding of physics.
Totally. The source material mentions it's almost infinite in size and weight.
Can you imagine if something like that was real?
Wouldn't it, rip apart space-time?
Probably.
The book says if it landed with its true weight, it would fracture the surface of the Earth.
Wow.
It really makes you think.
It does.
Like maybe the TARDIS uses something like a wormhole.
Or a white hole.
Yeah, to contain all that mass and energy.
That's a really good point.
And it's not just the TARDIS.
What else is there?
Well, the source material mentions other wild spacecraft, like the Rachnos Web Star.
The what?
The Rachnos Web Star, spun from silk and powered by dark energy.
No way.
I know. It's like the show is asking, what if we could use these crazy forces of the universe for space travel?
Like dark energy.
Yeah, that theoretical stuff that scientists think is making the universe expand faster.
Right.
Imagine using that to power a spaceship.
Mind-blowing.
Totally. And then there's the Juduna rocket.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It can cross the solar system in 45 minutes.
Imagine that commute.
Right. But the source material goes even further. It compares TMAT and transmat technology from Doctor Who to real-world ideas about teleportation.
Like beaming people up.
Yeah. What if those crazy technologies could actually happen?
It's a question that scientists and science fiction writers have thought about for ages.
For sure.
I mean, instant teleportation might still be fiction. But the concept of quantum entanglement and transmitting information, those are things scientists are actually researching.
That's wild. But even if we could teleport, wouldn't that bring up some serious philosophical questions?
Like what?
What happens to the original if you create a perfect copy somewhere else?
Oh, I see.
Is it still you if your consciousness is transferred to a new body?
Those are good questions.
Right.
And Doctor Who has definitely explored those questions many times.
Especially with the Doctor's regenerations.
It's a clever way to use science fiction to talk about what it means to be human.
Yeah, and it makes you think about the ethics of having such advanced technology.
Who would control it? How would it be used?
Exactly. Would it be used for good or for evil?
Big questions.
For sure, Doctor Who uses these scenarios to make us think about the consequences of our choices.
Makes you look in the mirror a bit.
Yeah, it's not just about the cool gadgets and spaceships. It's about the human side of it all.
The moral dilemmas.
And how technology really affects our lives. Which brings us to alien encounters.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy to think that Doctor Who is talking about exoplanets.
Planets around other stars.
Way before scientists even knew they existed.
I know. The show was way ahead of its time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And the source material points out that there could be billions of planets just in our own galaxy.
Billions.
Billions. And among those billions, Doctor Who has imagined some incredible worlds.
Like what?
Like the library.
The library.
Yeah, a whole planet dedicated to knowledge.
A planet of books.
Can you imagine? Would they have their own Dewey Decimal System? What kind of stories would those books tell?
That's amazing. I love it.
Right. The library is a cool example of how Doctor Who connects to our real-world efforts to preserve knowledge.
Like libraries and archives.
Yeah, but imagine a planet-sized library.
I can't even imagine all the secrets and lost history that would be in there.
Right. And then there's Midnight.
Midnight. What's that?
A planet made of diamond,
Ooh,
where
wow.
even the sunlight is deadly.
Seriously.
Yeah. Midnight is such a good example of how Doctor Who takes scientific ideas and turns them into awesome stories.
It's like science fiction meeting reality.
Right, like the discovery of 55 Cancri.
What's that?
It's an exoplanet that scientists think is made mostly of diamond.
Wow.
So these fictional worlds don't seem so far-fetched anymore.
It's true. It's those connections to real science that make it all feel more real.
Yeah.
And they make us want to explore even more.
Totally. It's like the show is saying, hey, the universe is full of crazy stuff, maybe even a few diamond planets, so go out there and explore.
I like that.
And speaking of exploring, let's talk about time travel.
Oh, yeah.
And those mind-bending time travel paradoxes.
Those are always fun.
Doctor Who takes us on these wild journeys through time.
It does?
And the source material points out how the show, just like H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, explores the idea of time as a fourth dimension.
Right, but it also dives into all those paradoxes that happen when you mess with time.
Like, what happens if you go back in time and accidentally stop your grandparents from meeting?
The grandfather paradox.
Yeah. Would you just disappear? Would reality unravel?
It makes you think about cause and effect. Doctor Who doesn't shy away from those paradoxes.
No, it embraces them.
To explore the nature of time choice and the consequences of messing with the past.
It's like the show is saying time travel is messy, unpredictable, and maybe even a little dangerous. But it's also super cool.
Exactly. And to deal with those paradoxes, Doctor Who came up with the Blinovitch limitation effect.
Yes. The Blinovitch limitation effect. It's like a safety net that stops the Doctor from changing the past too much.
It keeps the timeline stable.
But it also makes you wonder about free will.
Right. If you can't change the past, our choice is already made for us.
Are we all just following a script?
That's a deep question.
It is. Is the Blinovitch limitation effect a good thing or a bad thing?
I don't know.
It stops us from messing up history, but it also stops us from learning from our mistakes.
And from making things better.
Right. It's like the show is asking, what's the price of stability? What are we willing to give up to keep the timeline safe?
Heavy stuff.
It is.
Welcome back to our deep dive into Doctor Who. We left off talking about the Blinovitch limitation effect and how it makes you think about whether we really control our own destinies. But Doctor Who doesn't just focus on the huge universe, it also looks at the tiny world of cells and regeneration.
Right, like the Doctor regenerating is a big part of the show. It's how they've had so many different actors.
Yeah, exactly.
But the source material connects that to real biology.
Really?
Yeah, it points out that our bodies are always regenerating at a cellular level.
Huh, interesting.
Like most of our cells are way younger than we are always being renewed and replaced.
Never thought about it like that.
It's kind of like we're all having mini regenerations all the time.
Huh, that's a cool way to think about it.
And the source material gives some awesome examples of regeneration in nature.
Like what?
Like caterpillars turning into butterflies, or axolotls regrowing limbs.
That's wild.
Makes you wonder what other secrets nature is hiding.
Right. And if we could ever unlock those secrets to improve our own regeneration.
Imagine regrowing damaged organs or reversing aging.
That would be incredible.
Yeah.
Scientists are actually working on stuff like that, you know?
It's mind-blowing. But Doctor Who also looks at the downsides of living longer.
Oh, right. Like, what would happen to society if we could live for hundreds of years?
Exactly. Would it be a utopia or a dystopia?
Good question.
The show uses those longer lifespans to explore those questions.
How so?
Well, like the face of Bo.
He's supposed to be millions of years old, right?
Maybe even billions. And the source material talks about the downsides of being immortal.
Like what?
Boredom, loneliness, seeing everyone you love die.
Oh, wow. That's heavy.
It makes you wonder if immortality is really a blessing or a curse.
It does.
It's like the show is saying, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, eternal life might sound good.
But it could come with a huge price.
It makes you think about how an immortal being would adapt to a changing world.
Could they even adapt?
Right. The book uses the example of how human height has changed over time. If you live for millions of years, would you eventually be so different from everyone else that you'd be completely alone.
Like a relic from the past.
Exactly. That's a fascinating thought.
Mm,
And kind of scary.
definitely. But Doctor Who doesn't just focus on biological life forms. It also explores the line between machines and organisms.
Like the TARDIS.
Yeah. Is it a machine, an organism, or something else entirely?
Good question.
Remember all those characteristics of living things we talked about?
Like cells and growth.
Right, and reproduction adaptation response to stimuli. The source material says the TARDIS has some of those qualities.
Really?
Yeah, it's not built, it's grown. And it has that complex organic structure. It even uses protoplasm.
What's protoplasm again?
It's that living substance inside cells.
Oh, right.
It's almost like the TARDIS is alive.
Wow, that's wild.
And then there's the idea of TARDIS death.
TARDIS death.
Yeah, the source material talks about a TARDIS graveyard.
A graveyard for spaceships.
Under the Citadel on Gallifrey.
That's kind of creepy.
It is, but it makes you think that TARDISes aren't just machines.
Right. They're more like complex beings with a lifespan.
Like a cycle of life and death.
Makes you wonder what other weird machine-organism hybrids are out there in the Whoniverse.
I know. The possibilities are endless.
This is your need to know. This is your need to know. This is your need to know. This is your need to know.
But let's switch gears for a bit
Okay.
and talk about those super weapons they have in Doctor Who. You know those planet-destroying, reality-bending things?
Oh, yeah. They're always raising the stakes.
The source material calls them puerile sometimes, but I think there's more to them than that.
I agree.
It's like the show is making fun of our obsession with weapons and technology.
Like, look how ridiculous this is. Why are we building things that can wipe out entire civilizations?
Exactly. But there's also a sense of awe and wonder mixed in there.
Yeah, it's that balance that makes Doctor Who so interesting. One minute you're laughing, the next you're thinking about the end of the universe.
Right. Speaking of which, let's talk about the moment.
The moment.
Yeah, that weapon that takes the form of Rose Tyler.
Oh, wow.
The book describes it as the most powerful and dangerous weapon in all of creation, capable of destroying galaxies.
That's intense.
And the fact that it's Rose Tyler adds this whole emotional layer to it.
Right. It's like saying even the strongest weapon is just a tool.
And it all depends on who's using it.
The source material compares the moment to the atom bomb. It's interesting how science fiction can sometimes predict what happens in the real world.
Yeah, sometimes it's scary how accurate it can be.
It reminds us that science fiction and reality aren't always so different, and our scientific discoveries can be both amazing and terrifying.
For sure. But let's get back to that line between humans and machines. The Cybermen are a great example of that.
Those emotionless cyborgs.
Who think humans are flawed.
Yeah, they're always trying to upgrade humanity by taking away emotions and individuality.
Which brings up some big ethical questions.
Like, what makes us human?
Exactly. Is it our emotions, our empathy, our compassion?
Or are those just things that can be engineered out of us?
It's a question that's even more relevant now with technology becoming such a big part of our lives.
Are we becoming more like the Cybermen without realizing it?
Are we losing our humanity for the sake of progress?
It's like Doctor Who is holding up a mirror and asking us to think about our choices.
It's a reminder that technology is powerful, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
To make sure it doesn't destroy our humanity.
Exactly. But Doctor Who also explores other cool ideas like alternate realities and parallel universes.
Oh, yeah. Alternate realities pop up all the time in Doctor Who.
And the source material connects that to real scientific theories like the many worlds interpretation.
The what?
The many worlds interpretation of quantum mechanics. It suggests that every time a quantum measurement is made, the universe splits into multiple branches.
Whoa. So there could be tons of versions of us out there.
Living different lives in different universes. It's mind-blowing, but also kind of comforting. It's like no matter what choices we make, there's a version of us somewhere who made a different choice and had a different outcome.
I like that.
And Doctor Who uses these alternate realities to explore choice and consequence. It shows how even small decisions can have big effects.
That's true.
And sometimes those paths lead us back to familiar ground, like the Doctor's battles with the Daleks.
Exterminate.
I always wondered what makes the Daleks such good villains.
Well, the source material dives into their backstory. They're the result of a nuclear war and a crazy scientist named Davros,
It's like a warning about what can happen when science goes too far.
and how our own creations can turn against us.
It's a dark reflection of our own history.
The source material also talks about how Daleks can clone themselves,
They can regenerate and rebuild even after huge defeats.
like they're unstoppable.
But the book also mentions something funny about Dalek biology.
What's that?
They can't poop.
Daleks can't poop.
Apparently not. It has to do with their physiology and the fact that they're mutants and robotic shells.
That's both hilarious and kind of gross.
I know, right? It reminds us that even the scariest villains have their quirks.
True. But speaking of villains, we can't forget about the Master.
The Doctor's arch nemesis.
And the source material calls him a super tyrant, always scheming and trying to grab power.
It's like the show is exploring the dark side of what a Time Lord could become.
The idea that all that knowledge and power could be corrupted.
It's a classic battle of good versus evil.
But the show adds a twist by suggesting the Master's evilness might come from something bad that happened to them as a child,
It makes the Master a bit more sympathetic.
even if they're still dangerous.
It's like the show is saying even the most evil people have a backstory.
And their choices were shaped by their experiences.
Doctor Who is great at mixing those complex ideas with exciting adventures and thought-provoking science fiction.
It really does have something for everyone.
But the book brings up an interesting question. Is the Doctor a superhero?
Good question.
They fight for good and save the day, but they don't have superpowers.
True, but the source material says they have a lot of superhero qualities,
Like what?
like their commitment to justice, their willingness to sacrifice themselves, their ability to inspire hope.
I think that's what makes the Doctor such a great character. They're not a god or anything.
They're just a Time Lord with a strong moral compass,
And a deep love for humanity.
which leads them on all these amazing adventures.
Speaking of which, it's amazing how Doctor Who was talking about exoplanets way before scientists discovered them.
It's like they predicted the future.
And they didn't just predict them, they used them to tell imaginative stories, like the library and Midnight.
Those planets are so cool.
And they're designed to reflect real science.
Like the library connects to our efforts to save knowledge.
And Midnight is like 55 Cancri, that diamond planet.
Those connections to real science make the fantastical feel more real.
And they make us want to learn more about the universe.
Doctor Who does a great job of blending science fiction and real science. It creates a universe that's both fun and thought-provoking.
And it encourages us to ask questions, to explore the unknown, and to never lose our sense of wonder.
Exactly. And speaking of exploring the unknown, let's talk about time travel.
The show has always treated time as a fourth dimension,
But it also explores all those crazy paradoxes that can happen,
like the twin paradox.
where one twin travels near the speed of light and ages less than the twin who stayed on Earth.
Yeah, it's based on Einstein's theory of relativity.
Doctor Who uses these paradoxes to challenge how we think about time and space.
It's like saying the universe is way weirder than you think.
And the rules of time and space aren't always what they seem,
And to deal with those paradoxes, the show came up with the Blinovitch limitation effect.
which stops the Doctor from changing the past too much.
But it also makes you think about free will.
Right. If you can't change the past, our choice is already made for us.
It's a question Doctor Who's have been wrestling with for a long time.
And it's one that still fascinates people.
The show doesn't give easy answers, but it makes us think about these questions and embrace the mysteries of time and space.
And that's what makes Doctor Who so great. It's always changing, challenging our ideas, and pushing the boundaries of science fiction.
It's a show that never gets old. And we're back for the final leg of our deep dive into the science of Doctor Who.
It's been quite a journey.
Right. We've traveled through time and space, explored those crazy alien worlds.
Pondered all those mind-boggling technologies.
But there's one more thing to unpack.
Oh, what's that?
The cultural impact of Doctor Who.
I like it.
How it reflects our hopes and fears about the future, you know?
I think Doctor Who goes beyond just science fiction.
Yeah.
It taps into something deeper, something we all connect with as humans.
The source material talks about this idea of a memeplex.
A memeplex.
Yeah, it's like a set of ideas and catchphrases that are part of Doctor Who culture. It's like the show's DNA, passed down through generations of fans.
Shaping how we see the Whoniverse.
Exactly. It's a way of communicating these complex ideas and emotions through shared references.
And those references often point to our anxieties about the future.
Right.
Our hopes for scientific progress, the ethical dilemmas we face in a world where technology is always changing.
So what are some of those key memes that make up this Doctor Who memeplex?
Well, you can't talk about Doctor Who without exterminate.
The Daleks' battle cry.
It's become a symbol of the show itself.
Representing both the threat of destruction and the Doctor's fight to stop it.
It's amazing how one word can trigger so much emotion.
Right. Fear, excitement, a sense of urgency, like a primal scream from science fiction.
And then there are the Doctor's own catchphrases.
Like Alonzi?
Perfect for the 10th Doctor's adventurous spirit.
That never give up attitude.
Or come along pun.
The 11th Doctor's call to Amy.
It shows the importance of companionship loyalty, facing danger together.
It's like the Doctor saying, we're in this together no matter what.
And of course, we can't forget about the alien encounters.
Those are a huge part of Doctor Who.
They tap into our fascination with the unknown, our desire to understand where we fit in the universe.
And our worries about what else is out there.
Doctor Who has this incredible variety of aliens.
From the Cybermen to those cute adipose.
Each encounter makes us question our own humanity and our relationship with other intelligent beings.
Doctor Who doesn't shy away from those tough questions.
It uses those encounters to explore prejudice communication.
The potential for conflict and cooperation between different species.
And sometimes those encounters involve time travel.
Yeah.
The book mentions a really thought-provoking example.
What's that?
The Doctor witnessing the crucifixion.
Wow, a pivotal moment in human history.
Imagine seeing that firsthand.
Knowing you could maybe change history.
It raises questions about our responsibility.
The ripple effects of our actions through time.
It's like the show is asking, do we have the right to interfere with the past?
Could our good intentions backfire? It really makes you think.
It's not just the visuals and stories, though. The source material also talks about the sound design.
Oh yeah, the sounds in Doctor Who are so iconic.
Creating this sense of wonder and terror.
The TARDIS materializing.
The Daleks' voices.
The music on those alien planets.
It all adds to the experience.
Those sounds weren't just random choices.
They were created with these innovative techniques.
Pushing the limits of electronic music.
It was a sonic landscape that really transported you.
Like sonic pioneers using sound to tell stories in a whole new way.
And those stories often reflect our own hopes and fears about the future.
Doctor Who has covered everything from AI to genetic engineering.
The potential for technology to both help us and hurt us.
It's a show that's always asking, what if?
Challenging us to think about the implications of our scientific pursuits.
Like the Cybermen, their attempts to upgrade humanity raise serious questions about what it means to be human.
Especially as technology becomes more advanced and more integrated into our lives.
Doctor Who uses these scenarios to hold up a mirror to our own society.
To make us confront some uncomfortable truths about ourselves.
Like the show is saying, don't just blindly embrace progress.
What are you willing to give up?
What does it mean to be human in a world that's always changing?
Deep questions.
That resonate with viewers and are a big reason why Doctor Who has been so popular for so long.
It's a show that asks the big questions.
Challenges our assumptions and pushes the boundaries of science fiction storytelling.
And at its heart, Doctor Who is a story about hope.
It reminds us that even in the face of impossible odds, even when things are darkest, there's always a reason to fight for what's right.
To believe in the good and to never give up on a better future.
I think that's why Doctor Who has connected with so many people across generations.
It reminds us that we're all human.
Even in a universe full of aliens, robots, and time-traveling paradoxes.
It inspires us to be better, to be kinder, to never stop exploring.
Our deep dive into the science of Doctor Who is ending.
But hopefully it's made you curious to explore the Whoniverse on your own.
There's so much more out there.
So many more questions to ask.
And so many more adventures to be had.
Watch
Keep reading.
and keep that sense of wonder alive.
Because the universe, like Doctor Who, is full of surprises.
This is your need to know. TARDIS. Worlds collide. Bending
through time and space, turn to turn the tide. The Doctor! The Doctor! Doctor! Woo! Doctor! Exterminate! Exterminate! You will be upgraded! K9! Amy, Clara, Martha, Rose, River Song! Lord of Time! Who saved reality? Who's the master of destiny? It's bigger on the inside. A madman and a blue box. Exterminate! Exterminate! You will be upgraded! Sarah Jane, Captain Jack, Ace and Donna, Leela, Rory, Amy, Ramona, and Ramona too. Doctor! Time rewinds, a sonic screwdriver. Ruby, Ian, Barbara, and Susan's. Who saved reality? Who's the master of destiny? Who? The Doctor lives, the show must go on. Doctor. Exterminate, exterminate, exterminate. You will be upgraded.